Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So this is the next part of the 9 circles of hell in Dante's Inferno. And obviously I'm going to do and say what is right and not what a bunch of betas are trying to get me to say, and as they change my voice and trying to make it so I sound weird, trying to make it so I sound scared or gay or manic. Okay, they sometimes even speed up my videos. I mean, it's pretty blatant. So in Circle 8, Maccaburger, right? The circle for people who commit fraud. Okay. Real quickly, the first circle is for seducers. Okay. The second circle is for people that take advantage of people who twisted others' desires and fears and language. Third circle is for people who gain position in the church due to monetary means. The fourth circle is for sorcerers and seers, and witches and mystics and so on and so forth. Okay, the fifth circle is for people who barter, money to pay for their political offenses. Okay, the sixth circle is for friars and who are hypocrites. The seventh circle is for thievery, people who steal. Okay, eighth circle is for leaders who mislead. Ninth circle is for sowers of discord, and 10th circle is for liars and falsifiers of the word. Now, keep in mind, we're almost at the end of this, so bear with me. We're just going to go through this real quickly. Okay. So, in the 8th circle, right, the first subcircle is what I was referring to when I said the first circle, right? It's the first, I think the trenches, if I'm not mistaken, was for seducers, right? And this includes people with sexually provocative dress and sexually suggestive dress and behavior as well. People who try real hard to impress some rich people, not just gold diggers who are considered gold diggers, but people who are similar to them, right? The spectrum of gold diggers, if you will, right? And that includes almost every female, for example, and any guy who's that as well, It's also for human traffickers, pimps, prostitutes, what have you. So they are whipped by horned demons, and they're running away from. One guy he recognizes sold his sister to a nobleman, and another is Jason of Argo for seducing Medea, and Hera and Athena tried to help him in some way do something is their excuse. So make a long story short, some mythology guys, and that's not so important. What is important is the types of people who are there in general. So that guy was like a point of reference, right? And they don't like it in the story. If you want to look it up, look up Jason of Argo and what he did. That's great. Okay. Point number 2, the second trench or subcircle is for people who twisted others' desires and fears and languages to take advantage of people and manipulate them. They are covered in their own feces and howl at each other, right? They push each other down, and they're covered in sores. Okay, to make a long story short, that's like the essence of what's going on there. The description in the book is more, and the book is written in a way that's very confusing, and that's the tradition of Set being confusing, because remember, Dante made this book, not God. He's not right about how much people are suffering or what it looks like when they're suffering or things of this nature, right? He's wrong about a great many things, but he's showing you that various people deserve to suffer to varying degrees for eternity, and that part he has right. And of course, that's what's going to happen. All right, so the third subcircle is for people who are gaining position in the Christian church due to monetary means, right? And we see that that's everyone these days, right? They're in some kind of club or group, or some kind of group that uses money has allowed them to have their positions. So they cite some guy named Sion Magus who tried to pay St. Peter to bestow him with the Holy Spirit. They put them head first with flames burning the soles of their feet. Okay, and basically they're being burned by various flames in certain ways, and they have to kind of put their upper part of their body, right, into some kind of rock that allows them to escape the flames, and it ends up with their soles of their feet being the things that are burned the most. But quite often their whole bodies are burned and so on and so forth. That, you're there long enough, you're not effectively doing that at every turn, and so they're kind of covered in those burns. Okay. So let's just go and go to point number 4. Sorcerers and seers and witches and mystics, etc. Their heads are twisted all the way backwards, so they walk backwards, and they walk without the use of their knees. Okay, so can you imagine that, right? Where their heads are twisted backwards because they're doing things in reverse, right? They're turning the world upside down. They're trying to make it so the beta with the magic wand is superior to the great warrior. Now, Am I trying to insult people who aren't great warriors, great martial arts, profound, like mind, body, soul, spirit, point of life, moral precision, focus, moral intensity, justice, righteousness, wisdom, insight, discernment, right? Sound judgment. Am I trying to insult people for not having these things? And things like timing and willpower, right? And the sound motive, right? The highest cause and prioritization, having their priorities straight, and so on and so forth. Okay? And in a way that transcends the white man system. It transcends every worldly, flesh-based system, right? Everyone knows to a T, okay, that I'm not racist when I say the white man system. Okay, I'm not racist, period. But they know that that's not racist to say. Why is it being said? Because they went around the world and did things a certain way. As a result of the colonial phases of this world, if you will, right, since like 1400, 1500s, depending on where you want to start it, people went to hell, at record rates, and their cultures rapidly disintegrated. Okay, everyone outside the divine order was falling away from the ancient precepts and path of moral precision. But the colonialists, out of the extreme greed, started playing God in a way that went beyond the individual indigenous culture's kind of cultural construct. No offense to anybody. And that brought people down rapidly. Now, what ended up happening next is that people of European descent, no offense to anybody, my mom's white, I'm not racist, they started saying to people, you do the same thing, and that confused it. Because the indigenous people, they knew they wouldn't do the exact same thing. A lot of them are greedy, right? And they would do something similar. But it's not as simple as they do the same thing. They wouldn't necessarily cheat people out of their indigenous inheritance. This is something that seems to be more associated with the psychological construct of Greece and Rome that took over Europe, okay? For example, they're in England for hundreds of years, the Romans. And then not long after that, the English are some of the main people that colonized the world. They were colonized, and then they colonized. And that's how they're training the indigenous peoples in the world. First they're colonized, and they're training them to join them in colonizing people. And so that confused them, the fact that the colonizers were more evil than their culture, and that it's easy to point out why, and that you should point out why. But it also confused them, more importantly, that their cultures were also in rebellion. Everyone can't be right. Okay? For example, if we all say that 1 + 1 = something different, and one of us gets it right as 2, then that person is right, and that's important that people know that. So that has a lot to do with the sorcerers. Or they actually, in a broad sense, include everybody who talks about God in a way that contradicts the way that I do, because the way I do is just the bottom line truth. Okay. No offense to anybody again. So point number 5, the barterers, right? These people who are exchanging money for offenses, right? They can, there's paying their way out of things, like some rich, privileged person who donates to the, bribes a judge, or donates to some group, or just throws their money around, their weight around, what have you. They're put in a boiling pit of tar, okay? And there used to be bridges in these tars, in these boiling pit of tars. But whenever Christ comes to limbo and decides that it's time to take someone into heaven, okay, so their definition of limbo is a bit confused, okay? This is part of where Dante has it wrong. But let's just go with his argument for a second. So Christ comes into limbo, and it causes an earthquake as he takes these people out. And that's symbolic of why they don't like me to be here. They don't want me to disturb their construct. However, I've been stressing this, and I've been right, and I'm proven right 1,000,000 times over, that what I'm doing doesn't really disturb what they're doing. Okay. So, yeah, okay, so that was point 5. Okay, so there's demons chasing them, and they're in a boiling pit of tar. Okay, so they eventually piss off the demons there, because 2 of them are making fun of Dante and his companion Virgil, who are going and taking this tour of hell, of Dante's Inferno. And that's what we even call Dante's Inferno, which gives away that he's Set, Zeus, Baal, Jupiter, whatever you want to call him. And, as they're making fun of him, they fall into a pit of tar. And if you read between the lines, this is what causes the other demons to get pissed off, and they start chasing Dante and Virgil, and they know that they're not supposed to do that, right? Demons are basically dumbasses who often get punished for rebelling against the divine order. Okay, even though that you think that they're a demon assigned to hell, they're not. They're just somebody being punished as well. And when an angel, and they know a little bit more about what's going on than this person who just arrived or something. And when the angel comes and says, hey, you're not supposed to do that, okay, when they directly face with an angel, just like Christ facing Satan directly, they cower. But when the angel's gone, they tend to do things that cause themselves to get into more trouble. It's another reason why in their